right, so thank you, Chief and Lieutenant Cross. We have Lieutenant Zanella and Officer Robles here, along with our PST rep, to talk about how to prepare for an interview, how to prepare for a career in law enforcement, specifically with Lake Forest Park, but generally you can take these tips and apply them to your law enforcement or pursuit of your law enforcement career here. So to start off, I just want to kick it over to Chief Harden to talk a little bit about our department.
All right, so my name is Mike Harden. I'm the Chief of Police for Lake Forest Park and been here this is my 24th year that I'm working on. So I've been here for a little while. And so about us, so we're a small to medium-sized agency. We're kind of right in the middle of all of that. And we are located in Lake Forest Park, Washington. That's on the north end of Lake Washington. So if you were to look at Seattle, we border the north end of Seattle. We're right in between Kenmore and Shoreline and Mount Lake Terrace. So if you were to look on the map, that's where we're at. The size of our city is 3.5 square miles, and we have 20 sworn officers and 3 support staff. One is a property evidence, transports, kind of that all-around support officer that is a limited commission, specialty commissioned, and then 2 records specialists that do all of our records. For 2023, for calls for service, we average around 10,000 calls a year. Last year, we had 9,400 and some change there. Our population is 13,500 or 13,620. Our patrol officers work a 3-on, 3-off, 12-hour shift. There's also many other duties within the police station. One is we have a traffic unit. We have a canine coming on board in the month of October. We have a training unit, narcotics, mutual aid response to neighboring agencies. One of our officers just today is passed his SWAT test, so he's going to be eligible for the SWAT team. And then we're looking at a drone UAV program coming in on board pretty soon. So there's lots of other divisions like our investigations, IIT, which is an independent investigations team. We have our major crimes task force that we're with 12 other agencies. And I did mention our SWAT team also has hostage negotiating team. So we're a small city, but we have big city problems. That's kind of like how I've described it to folks. And so being border Seattle, we have the same kind of issues that Seattle does, but we have this unique balance of proactivity and also reacting to crime in a very balanced way. So that's kind of a really quick nutshell. I can go on and on, but I think I'm going to move on to Shannon for our benefits.
So thanks, Chief. This is just a high level of what are some of our benefits. As you'll see, the salary information stated is our range for our 2024. We will be moving into negotiations here this year, and obviously that changes as we go. We have an education incentive that's 2% for if you come in with a 2-year degree, and 4-year degree, you get a 4% increase. There's also a longevity incentive. We pay for the premiums of our officers. There's a 90% split for our dependents as well. And then there's a health reimbursement account where we will, if you choose a certain plan, you get a health reimbursement account. There is up to a $50 match on our deferred compensation. And then we have a very robust vacation and holiday plan, sick leave. There's paid family medical leave that we pay for the premiums for our employees, comp and Kelly hours, along with long-term disability and group life insurance. If you're a lateral candidate, there are some other incentives there as well. Chief or Lieutenant Ross or Zanell, I don't know if you'd like to mention any of those pieces of what our lateral candidates can look for.
Generally, when we bring in a lateral, we try to keep the same rate of like vacation, some kind of negotiating between the agency that they're coming from, and so they don't have to start over. So they feel like they've left the place that they were moving from to a place where they still have kind of those benefits. So we try to keep that going. And also when you come over as a lateral, you don't need to go into the academy for the 5-month period that they'll talk about later. You go straight into field training. And so it's a 3-month program that you go right on the road.
Great, thank you. So we're lucky to have Stephanie here from Public Safety Testing to help us talk about our selection process. And to go into a little bit of it, we at the City of Lake Forest Park, we use Public Safety Testing, or PST, and that's who Stephanie is representing, as well as National Testing Network, or NTN. And so the test entails a 70% passing score, and so we will look at those scores to see if someone passes that. There's also a personal health history questionnaire that needs to be completed, and our department will accept those scores for 12 months. And Stephanie, if you'd like, I have some of your slides. I'm welcome. I will go back as well, but I'll kick it over to you then if you'd like to talk about just what to expect for a candidate that is taking the public safety testing and maybe how to prepare for that.
Yes, thank you. So just a few tips to get started on the written test. So public safety testing administers both the written exam and the physical ability test, which are required for entry-level candidates, not for the lateral candidates that come through Lake Forest Park. So our written exam is 3.5 hours long, and it encompasses 3 sections with 2 broad areas, going through cognitive abilities, which is things like deductive reasoning and spatial awareness and skills that you will put into practice as a law enforcement officer, as well as non-cognitive traits. So how do you handle specific situations and beliefs, things like that. You don't have to have any specific law enforcement knowledge or skills to succeed on the exam. It is written from a perspective of a law enforcement officer, but all of the skills and all of the things that are tested, you don't require any actual law enforcement knowledge in order to do well on the exam. If you would, please, next slide for me, Shannon. Thank you. So a couple of things to get prepared for the exam. We do offer a preparation guide as well as practice tests and an introductory guide that explains all of the different dimensions of the exam and the different testing policies that you'll be under when you take the exam with us. So you want to read through those, take a look, and know what you're getting yourself into before test day. Consider purchasing that test preparation guide and the practice test, and then take them as if they were your real exam. So each practice test is 35 questions long, and there's a designated amount of time that you should be able to complete those questions in. So if you're taking that practice exam in that allotted time, you're getting the best experience with what that exam is going to look like on test day. So that's really going to help you put your best foot forward on test day. Note the types of questions on that exam that you're struggling to provide answers. So each question may go through one of those test dimensions that I mentioned. So take a look, and if you're consistently missing, say, that spatial awareness dimension in the questions that you're asking, then you know where you need to study and where you need to take a look to do better on the exam. Next slide, please, Shannon. So to be ready for the exam, you want to review those testing instructions at least the day prior. We do have some candidates that show up to the test and they maybe signed up that morning and are not really sure what they're getting themselves into, and then they can't put their best foot forward. So you really want to make sure that you're taking a look at the instructions at least the day prior. Know what documentation you need to bring, IDs, waiver forms, things like that. If you're taking the test in home, which is a great option for the most flexibility of not having to travel to a test site, make sure you take a look at what the requirements are for your equipment. You do need, specific requirements on your computer and your mobile device in order to take the exam, since they are fully proctored exams. If you're coming to a test site, make sure you look at travel and parking plans. This really goes to low stress for you on the day of your test, right? So if you need to come take the exam and you don't want to get caught in traffic on your way to a test that starts at 9 o'clock in the morning, make sure you allot yourself enough time to get there in time, not be stressed out before the exam. Make sure that you have enough allotted time, like I mentioned. Sorry, I'm going back, Shannon. Make sure you have enough allotted time. It is a long exam. It is 3.5 hours long, and that's just the exam administration time. That's not check-in. That's not breaks between sections and things like that. So it is a long day. Arrive early for in-person exams. Check-in starts approximately 30 minutes before the test. And for online, the Zoom room opens about 15 minutes before the published start time. And that's really time for you to get there and talk to the proctors, make sure you have what you need, make sure you know where you're going. You can use the restroom, get a drink of water before the test starts. And like I said, really that's about making sure you're low stress on the day of the exam, so that you can perform your best on that test. Be well rested, bring a snack, drink water, wear comfortable clothes. You want to dress well for your interview. At PST, we don't care if you wear comfortable clothes and you show up in sweatpants. We want to make sure that you're performing academically on that day, or for the physical ability test. So, if you want to show up in your sweatpants, that's fine with us, and we don't mind. Next
Stephanie,
slide,
with
please.
a question for that, for you, if someone has not selected Lake Forest Park at the time that they are doing their test, how can they select us later on?
Sure. So you want to make sure that you show up to the test and have all the agencies that you're interested on your list. Once you start the test, that list is set. But if you haven't selected Lake Forest Park, but you're interested, I recommend you reach out to the agency and reach out to PST. The agency does have the ability to make that agency available to you after the fact, but it takes some action from the agency to make that happen. So I recommend, if you have that question, talk to the agency, talk to PST, because our goal is to get you hired at the agencies that you're interested in. I hope that answers your question, Janet.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, for that physical ability test, there are multiple options available for you. In person, coming to any of our test sites. We test very frequently near Lake Forest Park. We have our main office in Linwood, which is only, I think, maybe a 10-minute drive from the Lake Forest Park Police Department, as well as we have virtual options, or Anytime Fitness for getting your physical ability test done. Again, know the requirements. Shannon put it up on the screen. The push-ups, sit-ups, and squat thrust test is what you need to pass. So know what those requirements are and know how to do those exercises when you show up. And then I recommend you practice the test. So sometimes people get themselves a little bit in trouble on test day because they look and say, I need to do 20 push-ups, and that's easy. I can do 20 push-ups. And then they forget that after those 20 push-ups, they have to do sit-ups and they have to do squat thrusts. And then they kind of wear themselves out early, because they haven't practiced that full test all at one time. And so while they may be able to complete the required number of repetitions individually with large breaks in between, they're not prepared to complete all 3 exercises in a row. So you want to make sure you're practicing that test all at once. And request a friend or family member to help you prepare. This is especially important if you're going to use the virtual option to have your physical ability test done, because there is no live proctor to provide you feedback. So if you're doing the exercises incorrectly, say not going down far enough on your push-ups to touch the 4-inch object, or not going down far enough on your sit-ups, having an extra person there to watch you and provide that real-time feedback as you're preparing can be very helpful for you passing your exam.
Question for you on that, Stephanie. If you fail the physical agility test or even the written test, how long do you have to wait to test again?
For the written test, if you fail the exam, you must wait 90 days to take the exam again. And that's to offer you the maximum time that you may need to prepare academically. For the physical ability test, though, there is no restriction on retaking. So you could retake the next day if you like, or as many times and as often as you need or like to get that passing score. And the physical ability test as well, while there are minimums that you need to meet, it's a pass-fail. So you pass all of the events. If you fail one of the events, then that's a total fail for the test. But again, you can take it as many times as you need to pass.
Great, thank you.
So this, just to call out some of our upcoming tests. So there are frequently tests on the schedule. Like I mentioned, we have tests in Linwood, very close to Lake Forest Park, as well as we test in various places around the state. So there are many in-person and many in-home tests, as you can see, available almost every day. There's a law enforcement test available somewhere. And if you have questions or concerns about getting into a test date is full, things like that, I recommend you can always reach out to PST and see. There's oftentimes we can squeeze you into a test or can make some accommodation to get you tested before any deadline that may come up, or on as flexible a schedule as you may need. So you can always reach out to PST for that. Okay, I think I'll pass it back to you now, Shannon.
Thank you. So after the test scores are submitted through public safety testing or national testing network, and you select Lake Forest Park, we will see the scores on our end as the administrators. From there, we're going to be looking to see if people have completed their personal health questionnaire. Make sure you get that done within 7 days of taking your written test, so that we have the opportunity to look at that, as well as making sure that you have your physical agility test done prior to when we're going to be doing the oral board interviews. So after that, we'll take a look at it. You heard the test taking tips here. Make sure you bring your ID with you so that it matches what it looks like, how you registered it with your name. And then if you have a need for support with the testing fee, you can reach out to me, or sometimes we have officers there at the test. And then we can certainly give you a voucher to be able to cover the fee for you on that. So one of the things that you'll get from us as we move into what the process looks like after you test with PST or NTN, we're going to send you, usually it's coming from me, sending you an invitation to move forward in our hiring process. And that's going to typically include filling out a form that is going to talk about any of the possible automatic disqualifiers that you have. And from there, we will evaluate whether or not you're able to move forward in our process. In terms of some of the requirements to test with us, we'll get into that a little bit down the road, but certainly you have to be 21 when you're hired. If you are not 21 when you test with us, that is okay. You can still go through the process. We just won't be able to extend an offer to someone until they're 21. And then after we go through the oral board interviews, so those that return the form to us and do not have any automatic disqualifiers will be able to go on to an oral board interview with us. From there, you need to score a 70, and we will then move people forward to the Civil Service Commission to be able to take a look at to certify the scores. Prior to that, we're putting in the veteran points as well. So we do recognize veteran points. And then after the list is certified from the Civil Service Commission, then the person would be invited to chief interviews. We've touched a lot on what the candidates can do from the entry level. On the lateral level, and hopefully this will show up for everyone here. If not, I will do it later. But we have a website. Looks like it's not going to show up for me. So on our website, if you go to Lake Forest Park or cityoflfp.gov, you'll see the website for job openings. And from there, that's where our lateral candidates should apply. They don't have to go through the PST or NTN process. So to help a little bit as well for our candidates, we wanted to touch a bit on general resume tips. Certainly, if any of our officers here would like to chime in on what you've seen as well that you think works, please do so. Generally speaking, obviously, it's going to be how you would like to see your resume, but typically I would say, replace objective with maybe more of a summary about yourself and the career or profession that you want to do. I think most of the times we know that the objective is that you want to get a career in law enforcement. Maybe use that as an opportunity to be more of your elevator pitch, so to speak. High school information, sometimes I hear people have been told don't include high school information because it was so far ago, so long ago, and some of those activities. But I think it is very relevant for people who, especially if you don't have a lot of work experience to pull from, maybe you just graduated and are newly into the workforce, it's going to be very relevant for you to include your high school information, meaning, did you participate in sports? Were you with the scouts? Were you a captain of your team? Those are all really great things to be putting into your resume, and highlight your accomplishments so that you can stand out. See if it's visually appealing. Is it easy to read? Try to keep it to 1 to 2 pages. I would say Times New Roman is somewhat moving out, more outdated, it looks like, with fonts now. So maybe look at some other fonts that you prefer, Calibri and Arial, just to make it visually appealing to look at. For example, maybe red on a resume may not be as great of a color to pick. Keep it to 1 to 2 pages and try to look at the spelling and grammar to make sure that it is correct. Also, for the resumes, you want to make sure that you're listing your experience in chronological order. So the most recent stuff you put first and then go down from there. You also don't need to mention references available upon request, especially if you don't have the room for it in your resume, because we will know that they are available, and you have a lot of the other questions that will come later in the background check that we'll be able to pull from. So let's say you have taken your test, you are invited in now for an interview. And if you haven't experienced one before, hopefully some of these tips will help you. And even if you have, generally, again, we're speaking from the aspect of or the perspective of Lake Forest Park, so please keep that in mind. But the overall format usually is going to be some type of panel interview with multiple people there who will be asking you a series of questions. You will want to try to wear your best attire. So unlike what Stephanie was saying of comfy clothes for your test with PST, probably not a great idea to worry about comfy in the interview, and maybe more about the professionalism. If you don't have a suit, I wouldn't expect someone to go out and buy one, but I also think that, wear your best business attire if you can. Oftentimes we see a suit and tie, but again, I don't want anyone to feel like they need to go out and buy a suit. It's just making sure that you're thinking about your audience and your grooming. This is a paramilitaristic environment. And so when you think about that, what do you think about? You want to somewhat reflect that in your interview, or at least an awareness of what type of environment that you are walking into. Same as you do with your tests, you probably want to arrive early so you're not feeling rushed and have an ability to kind of settle yourself in a bit. You might hit traffic, you might go to the wrong room. Just give yourself time to be able to sit there and collect your thoughts. The biggest thing I would say that is helpful for a candidate, even if they are nervous, is when they are just being themselves and reflecting a lot of their personality. Our group really likes that, because we want to see, is this a great fit for you? Or is this a department that, you'll work well with the group that you're coming into? But also it allows you to be able to learn about us and be a good fit both ways, because we will have an opportunity for our candidates to ask questions at the end of their interview. And so certainly if you have questions that you'd like to ask us, please do that. The biggest thing that I think will help is practice. So whether you are having those questions that you might ask yourself, what kind of questions are we going to ask? You're probably going to get, with Lake Forest Park or any other organization, something along the way of, why are you interested in becoming a police officer, or why are you interested in this department? I would practice that question all the time and think about how you want to answer that, maybe in front of a mirror, maybe you can practice with friends, or maybe get your pet and sit your dog in front of you and use that helper as someone that you can talk to about your practiced questions. A lot of times you'll probably get questions somewhere along the line of focusing on your strengths and maybe your weaknesses, thinking about how you want to answer that, thinking about how potentially something with conflict. I'm sure there's always going to be something about interpersonal conflict. So think about those things in your life and how you might want to touch on that. Talk about your accomplishments. We like humble, but also don't let that be a detriment for us not to learn about some of your accomplishments and what you have done really well and what you're proud of. Smile if you can, relax if you can. I would say probably asking for clarification for us is absolutely fine. Clarification on the question that we're asking. Think about, do you have gum in your mouth? I'd probably not have gum in your mouth. If you have a chair that moves, try not to be moving around. Think about your handshake when you come into the room. I don't know, would the group here like to add anything else that you can think of that you think would be helpful for candidates to think about when they're coming in for an interview?
I think you touched all the good points. So yeah, that's pretty much what they should do in order to have a good impression, make a good impression.
Thank you. And I think to your point about making a good impression, if candidates remember every interaction that you have with an organization, you're making an impression. So it's not just at the interview, just as a heads up to think about how you're putting your best foot forward whenever you're coming in contact with an organization.
Shannon, if I can add something, the last two slides, you've really nailed so many things that we use to not judge candidates, but really how they can convey who they are to us. You talked about some items in a resume, and really some of the best advice I could give to people there is make it concise, easy to read, no more than 2 pages. Don't have extraneous information, and don't make us read a book, honestly, because we want kind of some bullet points to know who the candidate is, to know who they are and what their experiences are, and providing information, even if they're 20 years out of high school, talking about high school and accomplishments that they made back then. That does give us some information about the path that they've taken since they were young. And then going on to the general interview tips, when people come in to sit in front of us, meeting them from the moment they walk through the door and shaking their hand. Don't try to crush our hands, but we like to see a firm handshake just to clarify what people are looking for. And yeah, just be yourself, be comfortable. We've all been there in those first interviews, and just know that we're going to be able to see past that nervousness and just try to be yourself as best you can. So thank you.
Great, thank you. So I do have some questions for the panel here, since we have an opportunity to have the chief here, both of our lieutenants, and one of our officers who graduated from the academy about 3 years ago. Is that right, Officer Robles? All right. So I have some questions here that frequently come up that I'm hoping that you might be able to help. And so I guess just to start with, this is for everyone. What are some ways that our candidates can gain hands-on experience to familiarize themselves with the department and the job of a police officer?
Diego, I think you should take this, because we're all going to be saying the same things, and we're going to, attack it in different ways. But Diego, just start from the patrol operations aspect, and like what people can see a police officer does, and how do you go about that?
Well, nowadays it's pretty easy because we have the internet. So, if you want to know what we do, and you want to know the difference between a small department and a medium department, a large department, just check the police department's websites, and you can have a better idea. So you can see the different missions, the different values, and what the department is going to be when you are working for it. And so it's very important to have a better understanding of what the real police work out there is, and it's not what the movies portray, because people don't know this, but 75% of the things we do is to help the community. And so you have to understand how we help the community, and do some research, read some books, check some podcasts, Nowadays, there are a ton of podcasts about law enforcement. And so you can have a better idea, and so you will be better prepared if want to become a police officer.
Do you think that it's helpful for people to try to do ride-alongs at different departments or at our department?
Absolutely. Ride along is a very good way to see what a patrol officer does every day. And so we offer that opportunity so the candidate can ride in one of our patrol cars. He can talk to our patrol officers. He can, have a very honest discussions. And, our patrol officers are really good in explaining everything, pros and cons, and, the shift, the good things, the bad things that they see. And you experience that going to call, going to a traffic stop, going to any kind of police work that that office is doing that day. So I think it's a great way to understand how police work really works.
And to clarify, do you have to have already tested with PST or NTN to do or request a ride along with us?
So our idea is that if you are a candidate and you want to have a better idea if we are the good fit for you and you are a good fit for us, just come here, call me, email me, and contact us, and we will make sure that you can have a day when you can come here and ride with one of our officers.
Great, thank you. So, Lieutenant Adams, how long does the hiring process take typically?
Thanks, Shannon. So the process takes on average about 3 to 6 months. There are a lot of factors involved. From the day that you walk in to take your test, those numbers, once PST or NTN processes those scores, they forward them to the police department and to HR. Those scores are reviewed. HR will reach out to the applicants that successfully scored within our requirements. And then the next step there, as Shannon talked about, is to start sending some paperwork. There are some disqualification forms and questionnaires that need to be filled out. Really, you're probably looking at, depending on when we have oral boards scheduled, a couple months, maybe a month to 2 months before we can have that list established through civil service. And again, the next process then is to get people in through meetings with the chief. And then if you do get into backgrounds, if you make it to that point, then background, generally we try to keep those at less than a month. They are very exhaustive in terms of these backgrounds. So that investigation will be conducted by a full-time detective. That detective is trained in how to conduct these investigations. And we have a very handy platform that we use that makes the process just that much easier, not only for the applicant, but also for the investigating detective. But again, going back to the original question, Shannon, approximately 3 to 6 months.
Great, thank you. Is there anything that our candidates, let's say they get through the process, they make it through the chief interview and now they're at the background check stage. Are there any steps they can do to help expedite that process?
Absolutely. Try to have all of your identity documents handy. Have a list of references ready to go, because we are going to request that you send us a list of references, friends, family, coworkers. If you can already have your work history prepared, and this would be going back at least a decade, have your educational history. You don't have to know your exact GPAs with high school or college, but we do like to know that information if you can estimate it. We will be asking for copies of transcripts as well, so be prepared to have those ordered from those educational institutions to be forwarded to the police department.
Do you want certified copies of the transcripts?
Yes, we do want certified, unopened copies. There are services available. If you just contact whatever the school is, let them know what you're needing and who to send it to. They will probably direct you to one of these services, and then that company will coordinate with the school and forward that information to the police department.
Great, thank you. You touched a little bit on the automatic disqualifiers, and so I just want to let candidates know, if you're unfamiliar with what those automatic disqualifiers might be, we have that listed on PST's website. If you go to the profile there for our company or our organization, in addition to that, we do have the ability for you just to email us, and we can certainly talk to you about that or help review that, because sometimes it is situational, and we can't necessarily say yes or no without maybe some further question and answer. So that also is out there as an option. This question is for Officer Robles, and then anyone else obviously who'd like to go ahead and add in there. But could you tell us how long is the academy, and generally what to expect when you're there?
Yeah, so the academy is 720 hours, about 4.5 months duration. It's in Burien, and it is essentially a full-time job. It's going to be a lot of studying. It's going to be physical. You're going to be learning how to be a police officer, and it's when I talk about that, it covers the basics of being a police officer. But it's going to be patrol tactics, defensive tactics, driving a police car in an emergency situation. It's fun, and you really do get out of it what you put into it. It is high stakes. Essentially, the first day, you have a written test, and if you don't pass that written test, then you have one opportunity to retake it. If you don't pass it, then you're out. So we just talked about how long it takes to get to that point, and really it would be unfortunate, and it does happen, to just be out after having put all that effort into getting to where you're at. You get to meet a lot of great people, and from what I've experienced, people that I've still remained in contact with, and other officers that have been in the career for 20 plus years still have close contact with people that they met in the academy.
How big was your class?
The class was 32, which one of the larger classes. It was during COVID, so there was some people that had what they refer to as recycled, meaning that they had gotten COVID or weren't able to move forward because of COVID restrictions, so they got moved to our class. So it was one of the larger classes. I think typically they're around 30 or so.
And just to let people know as well, recruits are not housed at the academy during the time. So you're commuting every day generally. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yeah, and it's in Burien. So you're going to be fighting, depending on where you're coming from, you're going to be fighting that traffic.
Mm-hmm. Are there aspects of the academy that surprised you, or that you felt like would be good for people to know to prepare? So you talked about the written test. We have the physical agility test, for example, that people do prior to. Are there additional things that you think would be helpful for people to do to be prepared for the academy?
I think studying, just being a good student. I think there's people that think that they can test well, and that might be the case, but there's a lot of information that's thrown at you, and so you're just really taking on a lot of information. And so just being a good student and having a good positive attitude, and it's something that you're going to do once in your career, and just enjoy it, because it is fun. There's days where they feel kind of long and it is a lot of information, but it's a one and done, and so it's a 4.5 month journey, and just be prepared for it.
Great, thank you. Lieutenant Adams, how in shape would I need to be, and how should I prepare for the physical aspect of the job?
Sure. In terms of how in shape you need to be, there are physical agility tests that are required as part of the testing. Those requirements are listed on the PST and NTN websites, and should also be available through information on our website. We then also have a medical exam that's part of your pre-hiring process. So you need to be able to pass those at a minimum. But I guess what I would say is that as Officer Robles talked about, the academy is fairly physical, and the career can be very physical at times. Know that physical fitness will be a huge part of your resiliency as an officer. So we really encourage officers to not only try to stay mentally strong, but also physically strong. We did this last year build a gym. Thank you, Chief Harden. And so it's a great facility on site where officers can work out either during shift if staffing and call volume allows, or certainly before or after your shift. And it's a great way to blow off some steam and really try to keep your head in the game, but also be healthy and make sure we live a long, healthy life after retirement.
Great, thank you. I think one of the things that the department does really well, the police department, is it talks a lot about the mental health aspect of the job as well, and making sure that you have that peer support there as well. So I'd say the gym is one really great example. We also have chaplains that are available to support our crew. There's a couple other things as well that are available to help our officers as well, just on the day-to-day. I guess I'll do this question, hand over to Lieutenant Zanella here. How long is the training process before someone gets on patrol?
So after the academy, the officer comes back to our department, and he has to do some, or she has to do some additional training before going and doing the FTO, Field Training Officer period. So it's 3 months, 3.5 months. Basically, each officer has to go through this process where it will be evaluated by 3 different, let's say, senior officers that we call FTOs. And so it's 3 months. Each FTO will teach you about geography and policies and all the things you need to know in order to be a good police officer in Lake Forest Park. And so if you pass phase 1, you go to phase 2, and you go to phase 3. And at the end, if you pass everything, you have 1 week or 2 weeks where you go by yourself, but you will be monitored by a senior officer who wants to make sure that you are doing everything properly according to the law, to the policy, to the regulations. And so basically after 3.5 months after the academy, you can be finally solo. So you have your own patrol car and you respond to calls and you do traffic stops and proactive work and so forth.
Great, thank you. Officer Robles, do patrol officers just respond to dispatch calls?
We do, but we do a lot more than that. One of the things that drew me to Lake Forest Park is just it's the proactiveness of the officers in the city. We get a call about a suspicious car in a neighborhood, a car that just doesn't feel right to somebody, and we're there immediately. We don't just sit around and we don't drag our feet to calls. We're very proactive, and if we're not responding to calls, we're looking for people that just might need help, redirect them. If it's somebody with a warrant, we act on it. We're very proactive, so it feels good. A lot of the citizens know that. They're very supportive of us and our PD, and it's great.
Chief, do you mind sharing some of the community outreach events that the department does? I feel like there are a lot of great things that the officers do within our community that would be great to hear.
So the officers will do it on an individual basis with people. They have this kind heart, and so they'll help people out just in need. We have our racer group that is our mental health responders that will come out and help folks in those kind of needs. On a bigger scale with events, we've had Safety Day. That is, I think it's the 4th year that we've done it, and it's grown every single year, where we give out life vests and bike helmets, gun locks, and teach kids how to ride bikes and obey the signs and the signals, and just overall bike safety. Real fun event for the family, and that was done in the summer. We've just finished National Night Out last week, which is where we go out to all the neighborhoods that gather and get to know their neighbors. We had 30+ neighborhoods that the officers and staff visited, with probably around 20 to 40 residents at each neighborhood. So we're hitting a large portion of our city, just getting to know the officers, what's going on with the neighborhoods, and getting to know new people that move into the neighborhoods. We have Pink Patch project, which happens in the month of October. And that is basically the month where we put a focus on breast cancer awareness. And we have pink patches that the officers wear, but it's getting folks to go to the doctors, get checked, so that they can get that early warning. We also have in December, we have Shop with a Cop, which is the opportunity for an officer to go with a child in need, families that are having some medical or economic issues. And it's from our schools, our local elementary schools. Officers go shopping with them, and they purchase gifts for the family, so that those families that have a harder time at the holidays are able to give those gifts to their family members. And it's meant for that child to have a generosity and spirit of giving to their family. And then what ends up happening is the officers are very generous with the kids, and it's a really good time. We've had all throughout the last decade or so, we've done events with Special Olympics, like the torch run. We've had the salmon bake. We've had the pumpkin patch, with a lot of different events that we've gone through that are creative. We're anticipating a Citizens Academy down the road, where we'll have citizens that can learn all about the police department. They have their normal maybe engineering job, and they're like, what's it like to be a police officer? And they get to get much more into the weeds than we are tonight, but really good events like that.
Great, thank you. So this question definitely is for everyone. Could you tell us a little bit about the characteristics that you're looking for in a candidate?
I want to start off right away with the number one thing I look for. Well, actually, two things that I look for, and everybody hears this. The lieutenants have heard this. Juan has heard this. When you get hired on, I'm looking for two things. One is customer service. I want the best customer service that anybody can provide. It doesn't matter what you're doing, from helping somebody, move a trash can out of the roadway, from really simple things, all the way up to somebody needs to get arrested, and you provide great customer service for those people that are getting arrested. And there's a lot of in between. It's all about showing that empathy and compassion and crushing crime, stopping crime, and not having that happen in our city. So it's all about customer service, and it's customer service driven. The second thing I look for is people that take care of themselves, both physically and mentally. We want strong characters that know that physically they need to take care of themselves because they can take care of others. And mentally, I want people to retire from this job where they are mentally focused on retirement, as opposed to, the trauma that officers see throughout their career. So those are the two big things that I'm looking for.
Perfect. Thank you. How about others in this group here?
Ethics is extremely important for us. You can't be a good police officer if you don't have ethics. We can't lie, we can't cheat. It's just how we are. And so ethics, if you are a guy who likes shortcuts, probably police work is not your field. And the second thing is, at least for me, it's to be reasonable. Our officers respond to a lot of different calls. Each call is completely different. And you have to be the person who comes with a reasonable understanding of the situation, and you have to solve the problems. So we are looking for reasonable people who can apply the laws and the policies that we have.
Great, thank you.
If I can say something, Shannon.
Yes, please.
Be a good teammate, be interesting, be your authentic self when you come to work, because you're going to add unique characteristics to whatever team you end up on, whatever squad you end up on. And kind of to piggyback on something the chief said, we're here to crush crime. We're going to do it with a smile on our face, and we're going to offer good customer service. We're going to offer good services to people who are truly in need of them. But Lake Forest Park has consistently been one of the safest cities in Washington for I don't even know how long. And it isn't because regionally we don't have a crime problem here. Regionally we do. In North King County, there's a significant crime problem. But we have a better relationship with our citizens, and I think most cities do. We have the support of our citizens that most other cities don't. And our officers are out on the street every single day. So we want people to be proactive, but to be educated and caring and compassionate, be the total package. That's what we want our officers to be, and be prepared every day to come out and give that kind of service to the community.
Thank you.
I wanted to add real quick onto that, just to piggyback on what Lieutenant Adams said. I was going to say it before he said it, but it's also skill sets. Because he was talking about how everybody's unique. People bring in every person has some kind of skill set that is great for the team. And it could be because you have a different culture, you have a language that you learned. I mean, we've had people that come in and are like, I speak 5 different languages. That's got nothing to do with law enforcement, but everything of how you deal with law enforcement in our community. So there's people that are very good in interviewing. There are people that are very compassionate about domestic violence victims, and everybody has something that they bring to the table, and it's just using those skill sets.
Thank you, Chief. Yeah, I think having a really great diverse workforce, it makes our team stronger. And I think certainly the Lake Forest Park PD has built a very strong organization, strong team there that exemplify a lot of what you guys have talked about tonight. So I want to thank you for all your time today. Thank you, Stephanie from PST, to our officers for taking time out of your day. And if there are any questions that people have, they are welcome to reach out to us or myself. My email is smoore@cityoflfp.gov. We will have this posted for people to watch. And again, thank you very much for providing all this great information.
Thank you, Shannon. You did an outstanding job, and everybody else that's in here, and Stephanie with PST, thank you very much. I appreciate everything you've done. And if anybody that's watching this may not want to be a police officer, but knows somebody that wants to be a police officer, point them in that right direction too, because it'd be great.
And if you don't know if you want to be a police officer or not, come and check it out and talk with us so we can help you navigate that and decide if that is something that's right for you. So, all right. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, everybody. Bye-bye.